The Jeep is an incredibly capable vehicle, even stock. But on my last couple of trips, I have found a few limitations with it. One of them is that I am scraping a lot. Also had a couple of big bumps. There you go. And I found that the 35s don't quite fit at stock height.
Come down.
So today I'm at my friend's Commonwealth 4x4, where we are going to lift it and put some skid plates on.
But first, a quick flex test on the logs out front of Commonwealth 4x4. The sway bar is disconnected, but neither of the lockers are engaged. You can see the weight comes off the front tire enough that it starts to slip. With the rear locker engaged, it didn't quite make it to the top of the log before the tire was in the air. I backed up until it was back on the ground so I can compare the difference later. It's also worth noting that both the front and the rear tires were compressed to the point that they were touching the insides of the fender.
So the lift we're going with on this is the 2.5-inch Metal Cloak Game Changer lift. Metal Cloak are actually having a competition to see which video gets the most clicks on their link. So do me a favor, scroll down, click on the link to check out the lift kit. There's no purchase necessary, just click on the link for me. Thank you. One with the 2.5-inch because not doing anything crazy, planning on sticking with the 35s. It's just enough to give me a little bit of extra clearance and a lot more flex. So this is the spring that was in there. This is the Rubicon spring. And then this is what's replacing it. So you can see we're gonna get a little bit of lift from this, but one of the things about this spring is it's a dual rate spring. So at the top, we've got the softer coils. So when I'm just driving along the road, these are gonna be compressed, but it means when I'm flexing off-road, these can extend and I have more travel in the spring as well as everything else, so it stays in its perch. So with this setup, you can see already got a whole bunch more droop in the back. Part of that's thanks to the shocks we got here. This is the shock that came with the Jeep. You can see that it's so much shorter than the ones we've switched in. And these ones that we've got here from Metal Cloak, these are the Rock Sports, and they're kind of like the base option the Metal Cloak have, but obviously they've helped a lot. Another thing that helps is that all of these control arms that you get from Metal Cloak, they've got special Duraflex joints on the ends, which help with articulation. You actually get about 28 degrees more articulation on these than you do with traditional joints. The joints on here also give you great isolation from road vibrations, so you're going to reduce a lot of noise and harshness of your ride with that, and they're adjustable, which can help with the caster of the Jeep.
The flange that comes from the output shaft of the transfer case, you'll notice on the OEM drive shaft uses kind of like this rotational ball type bearing or fitment there. And what happens is at extreme angles, this comes in contact with the lip of this and can damage the drive shaft. Is just not ideal for lifted vehicles. So what we're doing is switching to this drive shaft provided by Metal Cloak. This is a double cardan style. You'll notice it's going to use the same type of connection. We have a flange or a yoke going on the transfer case there. It'll come out of the transfer case attached to this first U-joint here, and it comes from this U-joint into a second. This is the double cardan style. It allows for this angle of rotation without introducing vibration and without it getting into damaging any of the metal there, and it's preferable for lifted vehicles. Same connection at the axle side here.
And here is the finished thing, and I think it looks fantastic with the lift on it now, and the 35s look right. It is slightly more than 2.5 inches of lift at the moment. that should settle. That is to be expected. When you first put them on, they tend to sit a little higher, then they go down as time goes on. It does also look as though it is a little higher in the front. That may be due to the weight on the top, or it could be because that just needs to settle still. So we'll see how that does. If necessary, we can put a little bit more of a spacer in the back to lift the back up some more to adjust that. But now it's time for the most important test. I'm gonna drive it up on the log. Well, I had absolutely no problem at all. When I drove up on this log stock, I actually started spinning tires before I made it up the ramp and had to put the rear locker on, and even then I didn't make it up onto the main log before I lifted the tire off the ground. This time around I drove up with it unlocked completely, didn't spin any tires, and made it all the way up onto the main log. I've actually run out of log before I've run out of flex. I'm pretty happy with this lift. This has given us the extra clearance we need and a ton of extra flex. Now it's time for the skid plates. And you can see that while they're working on the lift, I have already put on one of the skid plates on the front here. We're going with these all aluminum ones from a Sphere 4x4. Because they're aluminum, they are super light, so hold up the engine one with just one hand. A set of three, so you got the engine, the transfer case, and the fuel tank together weigh just 66 pounds. Do have a couple other ones, so I got one for the front for the steering, and then a couple for the differentials. People, when they think of aluminum, they think really expensive, but these are actually amazing value, and you can pick up the whole set of these for less than you can most steel skid plates. And we actually have these on our website at revereoverland.com. Obviously got them for the Jeep, we got them for a bunch of Toyotas as well, like 4Runner, Tacoma, Tundra. So I'll put a link to those in the description so you can go check them out. Now we're going to install them. We're also going to be adding little diff guards on the front and rear diff, since it's kind of low-hanging fruit, hangs down below everything else. Don't want to be hitting that into a rock and puncturing the diff cover. So this just bolts onto the outside, just gives it a little bit extra protection for some peace of mind. So I'm going to take a minute to go around some of the other modifications that I've done to this Jeep. Some of the stuff has been covered in a few trip videos, but it's nice to have it all in one place. And I'll put a link to the full build on my website, as well as all of the parts that I mentioned in this video. And most of them are available on revereoverland.com. So if you're shopping for Jeep parts or even other Toyota parts, definitely check out revereoverland.com. With such a small vehicle that's used on long distance trips, one of my big focuses has been on storage. On the outside, I've added the pack racks, the trail racks pack racks, which with a little bit of modification hold the MaxTrax Minis. I have 4 of these. One of them is a jack base. 4 of them just makes up for the fact that they are smaller. On the other side, I've added rotor packs for fuel storage, although I'm not a huge fan of rotor packs. I actually prefer the armadillo bags from Giant Loop, which also strap to the other side. But right now they are in my Tundra, which is out in Utah. One of the things that helps the most with storage is this drawer system in the back. This is the SHW Off-Road Ultralight. This thing weighs about 44 pounds and works really well. I did a full video on this, so you can search for that on my channel if you want to see it. The fridge is going to be moving off here because there's just not quite enough room to practically use it in here, so that will go on a seat delete in the back seat, which is coming soon from SHW Off-Road. I still have to figure out exactly what I want to do with that seat delete, because I've got to have a car seat in the back, and I don't think that the car seat that we've got will fit on the 40% side, so it may end up being just a fridge sitting on the seat delete. Underneath the drawers, I also have my dual battery set up. It's got 100 amp hours of lithium, uses the Redarc BC DC1225 charge controller. Nice and hidden because it's in the little box under there. Works great, don't even have to think about it. Just powers stuff when I need stuff powered. On the outside of the roll cage, I have the side stasher storage bags, and these things are really cool because they take up space that's essentially useless without them. That's dead space there, and now I can actually put stuff in it. So these things have a rigid bottom shelf and another shelf in it. Just unzip them from the front and you can shove stuff in there. So they're designed for like recovery gear, which is great. Or if you're like me, one of them's used pretty much entirely for diapers and bottles and that kind of thing. Up front, the extra storage theme continues. I have started with the 67 Designs rail here. That gives me a place for my phone, my GoPro, and my radio mic. Because on my last trip, I found that I had a hot mess of cables over here with all three things plugged in. Obviously, I have to have my phone plugged in because I use it on CarPlay for Onyx. So having that in this quick release mount would be nice. Keep it out the way. GoPro goes in the middle. I have a charging cable for that plugs in down here as well. And this mount means I can rotate it and I can talk to the camera if necessary. The only thing I haven't added yet is the mic mount because I haven't changed the radio in here yet, and I will be changing the radio out, but I'll have a mic mount about here. So the goal is all three things in a set place, not constantly getting picked up and intertwined, so I have cables tied up together. Talking of radios, I am also going to be adding a storage panel at the top here from American Adventure Lab, and that's where the radio faceplate will go, so I can tune the radio, see the channels, that kind of thing up here. Easy to see, easy to get to, but also relatively out the way. And that panel will also give me more storage for things that I need quick and easy access to. Things like a winch controller, winch remote should always be within reach from the driver's seat in case you need a winch. You don't want to be getting out and digging through the back trying to find yourself your winch controller if you need it. So that's something that can mount up there as well. You may also notice that we have the hot heads panels up here. These were one of the first things that we bought for the Jeep because the road noise is horrendous, and it still is pretty bad. They don't help a ton, but also when the sun's shining on this, it gets super hot, and then in the winter, it's super cold in here. And I know these are all Jeep things, but these just help a little bit. Up front, obviously, got to have a winch bumper because I'm using this off-road. So we've added the Arcus from Rugged Ridge, put the worn 10,000 pound synthetic winch in there. Also added some Heretic Studio fog lights, went with the amber. These are true amber, so really great for cutting through dust and fog. They're a good low down light. For ditch lights, added some brackets and put the Heretic Studio lights up there. These are the Quattros, and because this is above the headlights, that's where we use the clear lenses on those lights. And these are floodlights, so good for lighting up around the vehicle while off-road checking out obstacles. I do still need better headlights. These are the halogens, and they are really, really bad. So the plan is to get some KC headlights, the replacement headlights, to go in there because I've heard that they actually help you see at night. Up top at the moment, I have the iCamper rooftop tent. If you've been watching my other Jeep videos, you will notice that I had a Go Fast Camper Superlight on there. I own both tents, and they are both great tents, but they both serve different purposes. The Superlight is fantastic when I'm out wheeling by myself. It's nice to have a tent that's only 80 pounds on the roof, but it is kind of small. So this one's more of the family tent. There's a good chance on this next trip that we're about to take that my wife and my son are coming with me. So I've switched this one out because all three of us fit in the iCamper comfortably. I am actually going to be switching this one. This is a 2.0. I'm going to be switching it for the 3.0, which gives a little more room for bedding in there. And the 3.0 is one we sell on the website. We don't sell the 2.0, so that's another reason for the switch. The awning on this side is the Rugged Bound Ostrich Wing Junior. It's a 270 awning, and I really, really like it. I like 270 awnings in general because they're so much quicker and easier to set up than the standard awnings, but this one's freestanding as well. So in wind like we've got today, I can just unzip it. In fact, I'll do it now. I'll unzip it, and I'll show you just how quick they are to set up. Actions speak louder than words. Might as well just use it. Try not to take the camera out with these straps. So that's it. It's super quick and easy to set up, and I've got a shade for my son to play, or if it's raining, got a nice sheltered spot for them to sit and we can cook dinner under it. So awesome awning. This one uses the backbone system, so it puts the weight down on the body of the Jeep and on the roll cage of the Jeep rather than on the hardtop itself. So really good system. Most people seem to go with the tray, that platform tray with Rhino Rack, and I didn't see any purpose to doing it with this, since the main goal of this is to put a rooftop tent on, which would take up the entire platform anyway. So it's just unnecessary cost and weight. So I've put the Recon deck bars on this one. Just have to put 3 of them across there. It's just a cheaper, and in this case, more efficient setup. Finally, there's the thing that we probably should have started with, since the start of this video is all about lift, and that is the wheels and tires. The wheels are Method bead grip wheels, which are amazing at holding the tire onto the wheel. Even at really low pressures, it holds it really well. And in fact, we struggled changing the tires on my truck because of the bead grips that we have on the truck. So I really recommend these. Great for airing down low, and you can actually get 20% off when you use my link as well. So I'll again put that in the description. On there I have the 35-inch Toyo Open Country RT Trails, which are kind of like a hybrid. More aggressive than your typical all-terrain, but not quite as aggressive as a mud terrain. And these are really good in the clay and the mud. They have exceeded my expectations there. They're also relatively quiet on the road, or at least surprisingly quiet on the road. On my truck, when I switched from the all-terrains, the AT3s, to these, there wasn't a noticeable difference in the volume of the sound, although these ones are a little higher pitched. The only downside to these is they're not great in compacted snow, slushy snow on the road. So now the only thing left to do is take it out for a drive to the alignment shop.
With the Jeep aligned, it's driving beautifully. Now all I need to do is take it out for a trip. Subscribe to the channel to see where we go. Thanks for watching.